Hello! Thank you for joining me tonight, guys. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery patterns and kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time here on the Penguin and Fish page on Facebook. And then the replays go up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies when I'm done here. And we're here for about an hour every evening. And we work on a project from beginning to end. So today is Thursday, which means it is new block day for the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. And here is the block. It's called My Flock by Brenda Ratliff. Here we go. It is pretty. And the best thing about this block is I think I can get it all done in one evening here. So I think we'll be able to get this guy done in an hour. Although I think that, and then I realize, oh, there's maybe more cutting and pressing, the two things that I always forget to add time for. But I think this might be a one evening block, which I'm super excited about. Just because it's nice to have another block done. Then I'll have 4 blocks done and 4 blocks not done yet. And then tomorrow is Finish It Friday. So every first Friday of the month, so every first Friday of the new month, we just take off of everything that we're doing. We stop all of our projects and pull out one of those projects that we don't have done yet, and we work on that instead for an hour. So just an hour a month. The first Friday of the month, we work on that project, and it's just crazy how the momentum of that gets the project done, just that 1 hour a month. So we are gonna do that tomorrow, which made this block perfect because I think we'll finish it in one day today. So, all right, guys, let's get started on this. There is a link to the post where you can get this free pattern. It is from the Splendid Sampler 2. So there is a book coming out on this, but the first 20 blocks are free before the book comes out. So I have a direct link to this block, and then you can go to thesplendidssampler.com to find the other blocks that we have so far. It's a mystery what comes out next, so we don't know what's coming next. We only know what we've done already, and this is block 8, so you can do up to these 8 blocks for free right now. So, all right, let's pick some fabric and get sewing tonight. All right, there's my binder that has all my other blocks in there, and okay. To my fabric bin. So I'm storing all my fabric in this bin right here. And I've been focusing on, I have a few parameters. I have these bright kind of, I guess they're not too bright, but they're bright compared to all these guys. But I'm only using these selectively. So like every 5 blocks or so, I will add one little bit of this. So I'm not going to use any of these tonight. I'm going to use all my blonde neutrals again. And the other parameter that I have is I'm trying to use white for the background bits. So I'm going to get these out. I find it kind of easier to pick fabrics when you put a few directives for yourself. That doesn't mean you can't veer from that, but it helps me pick fabrics fast. So I think, background, I suppose the background we would consider to be this blue. We could actually do the white here, but I think just to stick to my parameter even more, I think we'll treat this dark blue as my background, white. So then we need like 2 good colors for the center here. And it'd be nice if they were kind of contrasty. We haven't used that in a while. That's pretty. I don't know, we could, this guy's awfully cute. Could do that for these diamonds, or not diamonds, these triangles here, the big triangles, because then we can see some of the designs maybe. And let's see, I was kind of like getting proportions down or seeing what it looks like, so let's just throw a triangle. I'm trying to kind of make a triangle like this. I think that's too similar. I want to make it pop a little bit more. Maybe just a dark, maybe this guy will be fine. It's just, it maybe kind of appears a little bit darker than this pale one. I mean, it's gonna be subtle no matter what, because all of my fabrics are pretty pretty subtle in the difference between each other. Yeah, these are too similar. Like this has a lot going on in pattern and so does this. So I think those are too similar. You know what? I think we're just going to go with this and see what happens. So that's the plan. Decision made. This flower would be pretty, but we're kind of using that a lot already. So let's plop these back in and we're just going to use these, and that is that. Decision done. Okay, and I think I'm going to do this pattern is going to be these bigger triangles, and this is going to be these smaller triangles, I believe. So, all right. We just have to remember that while we cut. So first up, we have 8 red print squares. This is now my red. This is what we're using for these. So we need to cut, we'll cut a strip that's 2 inches and cross cut it so we get 8 out of it. So we need, since they're 2 inches big, we need at least 16 inches by 2 inches for a strip. So let's, I got the iron out. We'll probably press these a little bit before we go. So I'm guessing this is a fat quarter. Yeah, this is a good fat quarter. So typically fat quarters are about 18 inches by 21, 22 inches. So I think if I just get my 6 inches, or not my 6 inches, my 16 inches off of one of these 18-inch sides, I can just cut a long 2-inch strip, and I think we'll have what we need here. So I'm gonna press just this little area here, and I think we'll be good to go. Oh, this is cute. It's called Freckles, this fabric. That seems fitting. So I hope you guys had a great Thursday and Wednesday. I missed you guys yesterday. Yesterday was my husband's birthday, so we went out to a movie last night. So I wasn't on last night. I think I'm gonna fold this in half just to make it a little easier to cut. We're gonna get rid of that selvage. I'm gonna put this the folded part here, I'm gonna try and get that along a line. I'm gonna zip you down here a little bit more. Just because then when we unfold it, we should have kind of a straight line. So let's go maybe about there. I'm gonna cut that selvage off first, and then we'll cut a 2-inch strip. All right, got my ruler and my rotary cutter. Lining it up on my cutting mat ruler. Okay, selvage is trimmed off. Okay, and then now instead of rotating my whole mat to cut my next piece, I'm gonna do that double ruler method where I just put my first ruler here, line that up on the 2-inch mark. There we go. And then throw this other ruler. I am gonna save the salvages. I'm saving all the scraps actually for this quilt. Lately I've been putting all the scraps in the back of the quilt whenever I make a quilt, and I'm kind of in love with that. So I'll probably do the same thing with this quilt. Oh, we watched Mission Impossible Fallout. I think it was Fallout. Mission Impossible, like, I don't know, 6 or something. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was completely entertaining. I think it was my favorite summer blockbuster that I've seen in ages and ages. I was really surprised. It was just really a lot of fun, completely satisfying. I feel like us, the audience, and the filmmakers we were part of the same joke of how far can we take this? Like what's the next thing that's ridiculous that we can have happen? Oh, and now that happened. Okay, what's one other ridiculous thing that we can have happen? I feel like we were both, us and the filmmaker were both in on the joke, and it kind of made it even more fun. I thought it was excellent. I normally wouldn't, I feel like all action movies have just been kind of meh lately, and this one was great. I really enjoyed it a lot. I totally recommend it. I was surprised. I thought it would just kind of be on that kind of, okay, that was fine level that I think a lot of big movies have been on lately. So I don't know. I totally enjoyed myself. I thought it was fabulous. Satisfying is how I'm calling it. So I totally recommend it. And just knowing that Tom Cruise is doing like these you know, all these crazy stunts. And you can tell that it's a real person doing things in the actual real life, like not all this CG stuff. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. Okay, we need, I'm gonna cross cut this. Actually, I can, well, nah, we'll just, since we're already here, I'm gonna just cross cut this a couple times so we have our 8 squares out of here. So I need to do that 4 times here on the 2-inch mark. But yes, if you want a good summer blockbuster that you'll leave just completely satisfied, Mission Impossible was great. I enjoyed it. But man, like the first whole half is all about cars and motorcycles, really. And so if you want to just see, you know, where anyone else's instinct would be like, stop. And you want to see just someone keep going straight through a pile of cars, totally against your first instinct, then, you know, Tom Cruise is there for you. It was good. Okay. 8 squares. Oh, nice, Gretchen. Grabbing your wine. All right, here's our 8 2-inch squares. These are, man, these are always so much smaller than they are in my head. I mean, I know they're 2 inches, but 2 inches got small. Come on, there we go. All right, 8 2-inch squares. That guy is done. Gonna just set those to the side for now. Next up, 4 tan rectangles. That's these guys right here. This is our tan. Oh, your favorite time of the day. Me too, Gretchen. All right, we need 4 that are 2 inches by 3.5. So we could cut a 3.5-inch strip that we cross-cut 2 inches. So times 4. So that would be 12, 13, 14. We needed like a 14-inch strip at least that we cross-cut. So let's see. What is this one? This might be one of those weird... Oh, yeah. Oh, no, this is a fat quarter. Okay, good. You know, I think just to make it easy, I think I'll just cut... Ooh, have we not used this yet? I thought we used this one already. We must have just cut a strip off of it. I think I am going to just cut another 8-inch strip, or not 8-inch, a strip off of the 18-inch side here. We will have extra, but, you know, like I said, I save all the scraps, and there's so many blocks in this quilt that a lot of them are going to require just little itty-bitty pieces, so I'm going to save all these pieces. You know, like even we had this piece left over from those squares. This might be perfect for like a paper-pieced little piece we might need later, so I'm saving all these for the rest of the quilt. So I'm not being so careful at like, oh, I need to figure out the most economical way to cut this or anything. I'm not worried about that because I am gonna end up using this fabric later. So why make it difficult? Okay, so I'm going to, what is this again? We need 3.5 inches. So I'm gonna trim the edge again just to get a nice straight edge. Let's get this fold on a nice straight edge down here. Okay, we're going across the line there. Let's trim. Do you think of making the geese bigger and cut down? Oh, I'm not gonna do that tonight, Robin, but that's a good point. I think I don't make flying geese a whole ton, so I'm not positive, but I think, yeah, flying geese are one of those quilt units that you can make a little bit bigger and then cut down, I think. But man, I'm not sure. I haven't dealt with that in a while. So we're just gonna go with however these instructions say here. Okay, we need what? 3.5. So 1, 2, 3. Ooh, a little wider there. And then I got a little extra half on this ruler. I like this ruler. All right. Doing that double ruler thing again so I don't have to rotate this. Ting ting. Clicking the wine glasses together. Okay, can get rid of that fabric. All right, let's, oh, I almost opened this up. I don't need to do that yet. We need 4, wait a sec. I did this a little different than I wanted to. I only need 2 little pieces off of here. Well, I guess I'm wasting a lot of fabric on this one. I was thinking that I was gonna measure, I was gonna cut 2 inches, a 2-inch strip, and then cross cut the 3.5 inch, but I accidentally did 3.5 inches, and so now I'll just be cross cutting it 2, and I'm gonna have a huge strip left over. But like I said, luckily I'll be using this fabric again later. But ah well. Yeah, I should have cut a 2-inch strip and then cut my my 3.5 inches out of it. So ah well. We'll just have a big chunk left over. Okay, let's get 2 inches. Many more blocks to come, exactly, Deborah. Yeah, normally that would annoy me that, oh, I just wasted a bunch of fabric here. But yeah, I mean, we really aren't, because I am going to be using all this fabric. They'll pop up later for other blocks. See, this is all I needed here. I didn't need this whole extra piece. So that's a lot of scrap to have made, but oh well. We will use it. Ooh, there's like quite the wrinkle in there. Oh well, we're gonna deal with it. All right, cute. So those will hang out with these. So these will be making like those half square triangle guys on either side. Oh, that's pretty high contrast. This is looking extra dark next to this now, so I'm happy about that. I wanted some contrast in the fabrics. So all right, look at these. This is so cute. Look at this little itty bitty greenhouse on there and little weird heart dude and some little flowers. It's just kind of a silly fabric. I like it. Okay, last up, we need our background chunk here. So this is another one of those things. This is done a lot in the Splendid Sampler blocks where they're like, okay, cut this chunk and then cut these pieces from this chunk. I'm just gonna cut the 2 pieces. So they're 6.5 inches tall and 2.5 inches and 1.5 inches. So that I could cut a 6.5 by a 4 inch piece. So 6.5 by 4 inch, and we'll be good to go. Nope, Gretchen, it's not my fabric. I'm not using any of my fabrics for this project. I kind of like, I like my Splendid Samplers, this one and the last one. They were both kind of my excuse. And actually the Charming Chevrons quilt that we're making too. Those are all excuses to use fabric from my stash, so none of them really have any of Penguin and Fish fabric in it. So I'm gonna cut a chunk out of here. We needed like a 4 inch by 6.5 inch piece, didn't we? So let's, you know what, we could just go, we could just go right on, oh wait, I need an edge first. So let's cut this edge and then this edge to like 4 inches, and then we'll rotate. It's kind of an odd way of cutting, but it's gonna work fine. You know, we're Frankenstein cutting all these out anyway. Okay, let's give it a go. We're only gonna need 4 inches, so I'm just gonna cut about 4 inches. Then a full 6.5 inch here. Let's see if I can move this without moving all the fabric. And, oop, geez, I'm way off. Let's get at the right angle here. There we go. Oops, I nicked you guys. It's not 3.5, it's a 2.5 inch strip, but plus a 1.5 inch strip, not 3.5. Valerie. Yeah, I'm not going to make this larger and cut it down. I'm going to just see if I can do it. Luckily, this particular block doesn't have a ton of pieces, so I'm hoping that we'll be close to what we need in the end here. All right, so I'm going to cut my pieces out right now. Let's do. We need a 2.5 and a 1.5. So here's my 2.5. It would probably be smart if I made the pieces a little bit bigger and cut them down, but we're just going to do what the instructions say this time. Okay, this guy, and then 1.5 inch. Yep, see, we just needed the 4 inches. Get that all lined up. Yeah, Gretchen, that's how I feel too, especially late in the evening. I'm not good enough at math to mess around with to add the right amount onto pieces so we can take it off. So here we go. These will go there. It's always kind of fun to lay it out. We will have these 4 blocks. Will be popping up here. And then we will make these little flying geese units. So that's why this block is called My Flock, is because it's made up of flying geese units. And what a flying, I guess, goose unit is when you have a rectangle. Oh, the comment's in the way here. So when you have a rectangle like this, and you take 2 squares and you make them into triangles. So you end up with 2 triangles on a rectangle, which makes that other triangle in the middle. So this is a flying geese unit. And then a bunch of those together, and you got a little flock of flying geese, right? So okay, we are ready to sew. So what we're going to do is I'm going to draw a diagonal line on all of the wrong sides of these pieces. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to lay it directly on top of one of these blocks, just all on the first side here. And we're going to just sew along that line, along the line that we draw. So we can either draw a line, I'll do one, and we're going to do one side and then we'll do the other side. So we can draw a line, but there's another way that's maybe a little faster that I'm going to do. But you know, this is nice if you just draw all the lines on. It's really easy. Yep, we are going to chain piece them as well, Gretchen. So Deborah, flying geese can sometimes be hard for me too. I recommend when you sew to start sewing from the center, because then your machine has all this fabric to grab on. If you sew it this way, where you sew from the corner down, then your machine kind of wants to suck this into the machine sometimes, these little corner bits. So I always do flying geese from the center out. That might make it a little bit easier. Karen, I agree. I think this is probably the simplest block so far. All right, so this is our first one. We're gonna just line up all those edges and then we'll sew along there, but I'm gonna prep the other ones right away. So instead of drawing them on with a pencil, I'm gonna just fold them in half and just kind of get a little line bent into there. So there, I can just see that line, and that's what I can sew on. And you know, you can also just kind of aim towards the other side. We're actually, when we sew this, I am going to sew just to the outside of this line. So I'm going to, I'll show you in a sec here. Oops, I folded that one the opposite way. Oh well, doesn't matter. I'm gonna sew just to the outside, so not the inside of the big rectangle. I wanna sew just on the outside edge of this line. That will give me enough space if I mess up to kind of adjust when I fold it open. All right, one more, and then these other 4 we'll do later. fold it this way. And you know, it is kind of nice just to have the pencil line on here too instead of this fold, but sometimes you just don't want to deal with that whole extra step. All right, so right sides together on all these. And we are ready to sew. So we don't have to worry about our scant 1/4 inch at all right now because we are just sewing on those lines that we made. So here we go. I'm going to, ooh, let's get a leader in here. When you're sewing little corners like this too, or little corners like this, it's always nice to use a leader because it sometimes, ooh, change the length of my stitch. Sometimes when you're stitching, the needle wants to push the corners down into the machine, but if you have a leader here, another piece of fabric, sometimes that can help prevent that from happening. And let's get my stiletto. I always like having a stiletto for half square triangles and flying geese too. So here's my stiletto. It's just a turkey lacer with some beads on there, but it's like having an extra little pointy finger. I can just kind of lead, it's like a pin. I can lead my piece into the machine, and that's helpful for me sometimes. All right, right on that line. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm doing right to this side of that line. Okay, that's one. I think I didn't check my, yeah, I think it's fine. I didn't check my, my tension since I switched my machine over from free motion quilting, but I think it looks like we're good. All right, next up, so we're chain piecing, which just means we're sewing one piece after the other in a row, and it's all gonna be like together like a little chain, and we'll trim them later. Yep, a leader and an ender. Oh, you typed in leader and ender, and it came up with the name Leo Anderson. That's funny. The Leo Anderson trick. That's what we should call it from now on. Instead of the leader ender trick. Yeah, I can actually probably show you. If I stitch this way where I have this little corner, and well, I mean, I have a leader in here now, but it will just, you know, pretend that this is my sewing machine right here. It will push that into the machine like that, and it'll make a big giant knot and just like kind of wreck the edges of the fabric. So again, that's why I'm going this way where I have like this nice long edge, and then also that leader helps pull things up. But yeah, in the last Splendid Sampler, before I knew all these tricks, my machine was eating a lot of corners. All right, there we are, and let me grab another leader here. This will be my ender. Okay. Oh man, I wish I had needle down sometimes. My machine doesn't have that needle down feature like some of the fancy new machines have, and sometimes you want that. So, all right, I'm gonna snip all these apart. And now we are going to press these. Oh, your maiden name was Anderson, so the Leo Anderson technique. Okay, so we are going to press these open. We need to press these open before, or not, I mean, we need to press these before we sew the other side on. Like this side needs to be up before we can sew that the next square on. And a lot of people just trim this first and then press open, but I like using this as a guide. So I like pressing open first because then I can align my edges here with the edges here, and that will help me get, it'll help me keep a truer rectangle. So I'm gonna press them all first, and then I will trim off the excess seam allowance here. Why do I use both leader and ender? Because the leader helps, the leader, which is the first piece of fabric, it helps me get the next piece started, so I don't have a bunch of thread strings everywhere, and the thread strings don't get sucked back into my machine, and it helps, like I said, with these corners. And I don't necessarily need an ender, but the ender becomes my next leader. So by putting an ender on there, I don't have a bunch of strings hanging off at the end, and I end up using that ending piece as my next leader. So there's always a little piece of fabric on the machine. So that's why. And sometimes with a leader, the idea too is that you're putting a thickness, you know, the two pieces of fabric that make, you know, your ender or leader. You're getting a thickness of fabric underneath your presser foot. So when you start sewing your real piece right after the leader, it's on like the same level, the same, you know, vertical level that the leader was on. So your presser foot doesn't have to kind of jump up an angle to get back up. Okay, last one here. Flying geese units are, this is such a traditional quilt unit, these flying geese, and I always kind of like all these traditional blocks. I think they're just, you know, feel connected to the rest of to history, you know? Yeah, it saves thread too using the leaders and enders because you don't have all those big dangly pieces of thread that you're dealing with every single time you're done sewing something. So I know a lot of people like using a ruler to do this. So here's how you trim the seam allowance. See, we still have this is all our seam allowance that we don't need. We need to trim that to 1/4 inch. A lot of people like opening it up and putting a ruler down and doing like 1/4 inch on this seam allowance there, and then taking the rotary cutter and trimming. Oh geez, that was totally crooked. I'm not good with the ruler and rotary cutter today. That's bad news. All right, so that's how some people like doing it. So it's nice. You got a nice, precise 1/4 inch seam allowance there. And I say, meh, who cares? I'm gonna get my scissors out and just cut it. I think that's easy. You used to use a leader, but now you just hold both threads toward the back of the first couple stitches. I have a little trouble doing that. Like sometimes it just gets sucked back into the machine. I mean, I hold it down, but I don't know. I've just been finding the leader, it just helps me a little bit more, especially with triangles that like eating the tips of my triangles. The sewing machine likes pushing it down into the machine. All right, there we be. That is the first half of our flying geese unit. So next up, we got to get the second piece on. So we are going to do the same thing. I'm going to just, you know, get your pencil out and draw on a diagonal or just give it a little fold. I know, step back from the rotary cutter before it bites you. I know that's kind of how I feel like if things start going wrong when you're cutting, it's a good time to maybe stop. So I'm going to not use that anymore tonight, I don't think. All right, so here's the diagonal that I'm putting on this time so that when we open it up, we have our flying geese unit. So I'm still going to sew from the center, from like this long edge down versus this way where I just have this point, because when I just have a point, that's when the machine kind of likes to eat it. So I'm going to sew from this long edge. I'm going to sew from this side down. So that piece is ready. Let's get the rest of these ready. And next up, we will be sewing these together. These 4 little rows of flying geese. And then sew on the 2 edges and we're done. So this is a quick, easy peasy one, but like it just looks classic and just lovely. I like it. Some of the older machines love to munch on the fabric. Yep, my machine is definitely one of those. It can get kind of cranky on you. This wasn't very square, but it'll still work. Okay, there's our 4 pieces. We're going to sew along these edges of all of them. All right, let's do it. Again, we don't need to worry about our scant 1/4 inch. This is a great block for getting going with like a basic unit. This flying geese unit, and a block where if you're off a little bit through the whole process, it's not going to matter hardly at all. Just because we don't have to worry about the scant 1/4 inch so much, and so it's a good beginner block for sure. That still looks cool. All right, so I'm still going on the outside of this line, just a hair on the outside here. Oh, you guys, it's getting a little blurry for you, so it's okay on my end yet. So if it's getting blurry, it won't be once it's up on YouTube because it's looking fine over here yet. All right, we do kind of have a lot of bulk happening here, so I am using my stiletto here to kind of hold it down for us as we go. Keep it all together. Yeah, I guess if I had to say the hardest part of this block really is the feeding it into the machine, at least for me. I had trouble with that in the last Splendid Sampler. And so I'm just a little bit more careful, especially like this when I'm sewing a pointy end into the machine. That's when my machine sometimes gets mad at me. So I am a little bit more careful. I think that's probably, for me, the hardest part of this block is making sure I feed it into the machine okay. So one of those things that you don't think about, right? Because everything should just work, but you know that's a point of frustration that all of a sudden things aren't going well and all that. That would be this feeding into the machine thing for me. Ooh, got twisted around there. All right, yeah, so here I could just take it right out, but I'm throwing the leader on there again. Okay. I can snip that, and let's snip our little sections. And I'm going to press this again now, and I'm going to do it the same way where I press and I use the edge as my guide while I press. But there we go. We're going to get some cute half square triangle units there. Oh, Kari, I'm totally loving this wool pressing mat. So it's relatively new for me still, but I just love how I can just move it around anywhere so easily, and I haven't had any problem whatsoever with it. I have not tried it with starch or anything yet, just because I'm kind of petrified that it's gonna stain from starch, but I totally love it so far. Okay, so if you guys want to know where this pattern is, it is free. I think Linda just threw the link up there. I put a direct link in the Facebook post for this block. Otherwise, you can go to the Splendid Sampler to find all the blocks, just if you could keep hitting back in the posts. But a direct link to download this block. It's a little difficult once you get to the site, the website. You have to kind of scroll down. There's a whole pile of links and a whole pile of stuff. But in bigger text, it'll say, download the block by clicking here or something like that. That's the part that you need to click, and it'll open up a PDF of the block. This is block 8. So, man, almost a 10th done already. All right, one more. I think these colors are cute together. This little brown freckles fabric, I think, is just dark enough to be contrasty, so I'm happy with that. I'm using that outside edge as my guide still. Okay, let's trim those. Got my 2 pieces hanging out here still. I'm going to just use my scissors again. I think that's just easy. So pull that back. Make sure you remember, because that would be a huge bummer to cut all of this off. I know the weeks are flying by on this already. Geez, yeah, really, that means we're 8 weeks into this already, doesn't it? If we're on block 8. Holy cow. Summer's flying by here, people. Yeah, I just think that's easier than getting the rotary cutter out. Just use that nice scissors. All right, next up, we get to arrange these. Oh, look, there's a funny little turtle on this one. Oh, that's true, Noeline. I could use one side of the wool mat for starch and the other side for no starch. That's a great idea, actually. I haven't used starch a lot yet. Oop, look what I did there. That's not what we want. We want them this way. We want them all flying in the same direction. So I'm just plopping these down. We can arrange them. I mean, they're all pretty similar, so I'm just gonna leave them like that. But now we're gonna sew these together. So there is one thing we have to pay attention to this, and it is these points. We wanna get these points sewn in. Oh yes, Gretchen, these are actually, this is the orange one, this is the tangerine color one. I do have a red one. Here's the red one. All the different colorful little dudes here. We'll use red for a little bit. That's the red one. Yep, they're still on my site. They're on penguinandfish.com. So all right, I'm gonna sew these two together, and then I'll sew these two together so we can chain piece it. Okay, so I'm putting right sides together. And the side that I can see this triangle, like, you know, so not this side, but the side here, I'm gonna sew my 1/4 inch along the edge, and I'm gonna aim for right where those two seams cross. If I can get right on there, then when I open it up, I should have a perfect little point right there. I don't wanna like cut in too much. Like if I sew a little too farther in, then I'll have clipped my point a little bit. And if I go too far out, too far beyond that cross, then I'll have just a lot of extra, you know, brown fabric there. So I am going to put this piece on the top and use that as my guide. I'm gonna go right over that point, and let's get this piece ready right away too. Same thing, I'm gonna keep that piece at the top, and then I will put these two pieces together once they're sewn. Alrighty, get situated there. And again, I'm gonna get my stiletto out here. I kind of like using it as a pin, so I'll kind of hold that spot in place. Let's get these edges together. If I need to move it just a little, I'll just kitty scratch it. If you just scratch the top of your fabric, it'll just nudge it a little bit. And I call that kitty scratching, like you're scratching a kitty's head. All right, here we go. So this is our scant 1/4 inch again. Ooh, there we go. Now the machine grabbed it. And I'm aiming right for that cross here. All right, pretty good. Rest of the way, and now I can get that next piece off. Let's make sure these are all lined up. Then we'll clip these and see how we did on aiming for that point. Ooh, it's not one to grab tonight. There we go. All right, aiming for that cross. All right, I think we did a pretty good job there. And to the end, and we'll get the leader popped in there again. Or the ender, I suppose. Boop. Okay, let's see how we did on that point. But here we go. See, so I stitched pretty much right through that cross there. And I was actually a little high up, so I got a little extra fabric down there, but I can see the point yet. The point here. I think that's a little bit better than if I would have sewn in a little too far and not seen the point. So there's our first one. They're so cute. Oop, and here's our second one. So it looks like I can go in a little bit further. Oop, So yeah, it looks like I was just next to the cross. It looks like I can bump it down a little bit and then my point would be even more right on top of there, but that's not too bad at all. So now we need to get these guys together. So I'm just going to fold, make sure they're in the right direction. You know, if I flip it, then we have flying geese going the different directions, but look, we made a little square. So it's kind of fun just how you rearrange these units, how different it can look. Like that's totally different with a square in the middle than these 4 triangles. So it's just kind of fun to play. But let's put the right sides together again. Get those edges lined up. And we'll aim for that point again. All right. And next we will, well, let's peek. Let's see how we did on this one. About the same. So I think these are looking pretty good though. We didn't clip any points, so I think we're good. At worst, our block, since I'm not in far enough, our block might be a little taller, but I think we're good. Mating geese. Yep, that's what when we turn it around. Like, that's funny. All right, let's press this. So the instructions do have instructions for the direction to press, but we're pressing towards basically the same direction as the point. It's kind of just where, like, look, it kind of naturally wants us to press this way. We're going to just go, we're going to follow that natural pressing. Like the bulk of the seam wants us to go in a certain direction, and we're going to follow that. There we go. Get this side all nice. Ah, this is just such a sweet block. Okay, last up here, people. I mean, you know, quick, easy, sweet, and fun. I love it. So, all right, all we need left is our fat pieces on this side and the skinny pieces over here. And we just need to sew those 2 on, and then it looks like we're pressing them outward. So here again, we have points that we need to line up. So I'm going to make sure that this piece is on the top. Go right sides together, and I'm going to, I mean, I can't really see them all that well because I folded them down, but in theory, we'll aim at those points again. So I'm going to have this piece up just so I can kind of see where I'm aiming at a little bit more. And in theory, if you have if you're scant 1/4 inch, like if you're sewing that 1/4 inch pretty well, then, you know, it should all kind of line up anyway. But let's kind of scratch it into place. But here, yeah, like if we flip this up, we can kind of see where these lines cross. It's that point again that we want to aim at. So you could actually mark that if you wanted to, but we're just gonna wing it. Wing it, that's a flying geese pun. All right, so about right there, using my stiletto as a kind of a pin again. About right there. I just kind of stop when I hit each seam and then prep for the next one. There we go. And then to the end, get our leader in there. We'll see how we did, and then I'll get that next piece right away. Hey, Joan from Louisiana. All right, let's pop this open. And there we go. So I could get probably a lot closer. I could sew in a little bit more. We'd get a little closer to those flying geese. I actually could do that right now if I wanted to, if we want to get real picky, but I think we'll just leave it. As long as I didn't clip the points, I think we're good. So, all right, same thing. I'm gonna put this on top again, just again so I can use it as a guide. Usually I like putting the smaller piece on top, but in this case, I want to see where all those seams meet. Maybe I'll try and squeeze it in a little bit more than last time. so we can get maybe a little closer to those points. We'll see how it goes. Ooh, we're kind of veering a little bit down here. Okay. I think I might have to trim this a little bit. I don't like this angle. I'm sure it's meant for something, but I don't like this angle on this foot because it always wants to open my seams, and that's messing me up a little bit. But oh well. Let's see how it went. Oh yeah, look, I accidentally sewed one of those seams up because of it, and I got all these little bulky areas. Ah, well, whatever. I'll pay more attention to that next time. See how we did. Oh, see up here, that's a little bit closer, I think. Cute! All right, let's press it and then wrap it up. Done with this guy. So this one we're gonna press outward. Again, it's just the natural place that these seams want to be. They kind of want to go outward. So I'm just gonna give it a press at the top. Look, I lost some, got squished together. I lost some length here. We'll trim it down to the 6.5 inches. So I think I'm a little off here, but not so off that it's gonna matter. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to press that side open yet. Let's get the seam. And then press it. Cute. It's so sweet, this little block. Okay, let's see how we are on the 6.5 inches and trim it if we need to. We'll get the, for that I like getting my rotary mat out. Looks like it's maybe a little longer than it is wide. Okay, they were okay. I think, you know, we'll just trim a little bit on the bottom here. We'll just give it a little trim all the way around. But all in all, I think we're pretty close. Just a little stretching here and there, it looks like. So I'm gonna get, it's basically these two sides. Get it all lined up here. Okay, let's trim. And you know what? I think that's all I'm going to trim off. Oh gosh, a bunch of these would make a beautiful border, Deborah, for sure, wouldn't it? Like imagine the rest of the quilts over here. This would just, even with these borders on, if you had these as a bunch of squares, then you'd have like a white border, a white frame around your quilt, and then this frame around your quilt, and then another white frame. Like it'd be like a 3-bordered quilt. That would be just adorable. But there we are, so sweet. I just love it. I think they pop. So I like that we went with a darker fabric here. I mean, in general, if you lay this fabric next to any other quilt, it'd probably be light. But when we're using such light fabrics, it ends up being the darkest fabric. But I think that really made these triangles pop. And then, you know, we got our white background yet, which is kind of what our plan is. So, all right, block finished. And we even have like 5 minutes to spare yet. So this is easily a 1-hour block from cutting to finish. So I'm pretty happy about that. If we have more of these blocks in the quilt, I'm okay with that. All right, I'm gonna flip you guys around and we'll call it an evening. Hello again. So here we are. I will show it to you so you can get like a size relationship. But there we go. Cute little guys. I think it's going to look so sweet in the quilt. It would look cute this way too, but I think it's, yeah, it's with the big triangles pointing up. So there we are, guys. Another block done for the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. And I will be putting this up on YouTube. We'll have a new little category for this. So if you go to Penguin and Fish Movies on YouTube, there will be a column called the Splendid Sampler 2, and within there I have every block grouped as its individual block. So this will be a new grouping for this block, but it will just have one video in because we got it done in one evening. But if you're looking for any particular block, then you can go into that like video folder basically, and you'll see all the videos from that one block. And then tomorrow, guys, is Finish It Friday. So it's the first Friday of the month, and that means we are just working on a project that is hanging out there, separate from all these other projects that we're working on. And I am going to work on, I want to make a baby quilt for a friend who's going to have a baby soon, and I think I'm going to do some free motion quilting with it. I'm hoping it's a quilt that we can get done all in this hour. We're going to use some fleece, some fleecy fabric, and against just a normal quilting weight fabric, and then I think we're going to free motion some stars in with yarn. So kind of like how this guy was done. It's yarn that we're going to free motion quilt. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. It will be Finish It Friday. Grab one of those projects you have just waiting around, sitting around, project that you haven't worked on in years, and we'll just take an hour and work on that tomorrow. So that is tomorrow evening. So, all right, I will get this up on YouTube, and I will see you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for joining me again. Happy quilting. Good night.